This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, let's discuss the agenda for today. See, we will discuss what are APIs, what are web services, and what are the types of web services, and the differences between REST and SOAP, and which is widely used, that will be discussed. Why it is widely used, that also will be discussed. And then we'll go to the topic API lifecycle. Okay, and then different environments in real time. Basically, most of the people here are already worked in real time, right? Actually, but it will be just brush up. Actually, there will be around 6 environments. We'll discuss about that also, basically. Okay, fine. Now, before proceeding further for today's session, right? With the help of Mulesoft, we always develop APIs. Basically, generally, most of the time we'll be developing APIs. That's the reason. Before proceeding to the actual development, we shall learn like what are APIs, what are the kind of web services, and what are REST and SOAP, and all those things we'll be discussing in detail today. Okay. Today also another 2 to 3 classes will be mostly theoretical only, and then we shall start with the practicals basically. Okay, fine. Let's dive in and then go to what are APIs basically. See, API means actually like API stands for application programming and interface. Okay, this is the full form of API. And then when it comes to the definition of it, basically API is a piece of code. Piece of code means a software code basically. Okay, that helps two different systems to communicate and exchange data with each other basically. Generally, what we discussed last time, if you remember, we have a French person, we have Hindi person. For example, we'll take a simple example. Okay, now one translator comes in between and then establish the communication for what? Exchange of data. Am I clear? The same way, two different systems are there. One Java system and one .NET system. API comes into picture, okay, as a mediator in between, and then it establishes communication to exchange the data. Same communication to exchange the data. That's what API does it exactly. Okay, we'll discuss what happens, like how when we will go for APIs and all exactly, but still it is very, very simple. To simplify, I have written like this. Whenever there are two different systems, we need to establish communication between those two systems. What for the communication is? The communication is for exchanging the data between each other basically. Okay, the same way what we have seen in the generic example. What is the data here? He's talking in Hindi, he's talking in French. That is the data basically. Here, for example, like we'll take the example and see here, which will take a generic example and we'll take a technical example, and then we'll see what is happening and what is API and what is the requirement at that point of time. Now, I'll take a generic example to explain API. See, now one person went to a restaurant basically. Okay, he went to a restaurant, some ex-restaurant, think of something. Okay, he sat on one table, one chair, and he sat there. Okay, and then the server came in and he'll be asking what is the order exactly. Okay, now what happens? There will be a kitchen obviously in the back end, if you see, and this server will give the menu to the person who came to the restaurant basically. Now what happens, he checks the menu and he asks the suggestions from the server, and then he will place the order. Now this person, what he will do, he will go inside the kitchen and he places the same order to the chef exactly. Okay, chef. And there are so many materials. If you see, all ingredients will be available. Okay. Okay. Next, all raw materials, everything will be available. Okay, like gas, infrastructure is available. Everything is available over here in the kitchen. But if you see, this particular server is acting as a bridge in between the kitchen and the actual consumer. Who is this? This is restaurant is the food provider, obviously the kitchen food provider. He is the consumer of food. Consumer means who consumes food basically. That's what I mean exactly here. Okay. Now this server means what exactly? Bearer basically. Okay. He acts as a mediator between this consumer of this food and the kitchen exactly. Okay. The same way what happens in the real time. Okay. Treat this as an API, treat this as a consumer, and treat this as the backend system. Okay, now what is happening? This particular kitchen is not exposed directly to the consumer of the food basically. Okay, who is acting as an API? The server is acting as an API in between. The server means like the person who is taking the order and arranging the food basically, taking the food from kitchen and supplying it to the consumer of that particular person, consumer who is having the food basically. Okay, the same way it happens in the real time also. Okay, I'll explain with a real time example here. What is an API, and then we'll see. Now let's take one example called ICICI Bank. Okay. Okay. Now what happened is, when it comes to ICICI Bank, what are all the ways we can consume that ICICI banking application exactly? Okay. I'll check it out. Web application. Web application. Okay. Mobile application. Mobile also will have two exactly. This is think as Android. Mobile application. iOS. iOS means Apple, right? Obviously. Take this as Samsung phone. This is Apple phone. Okay. And okay, web application and mobile application you have exactly over here. You see these three. Web application means you can use it through laptop or desktop. For example, I just wanted to log into the ICICI banking website. I have an account with ICICI Bank, and my job just now I just wanted to check my balance in the account exactly. What I will do, I will log in to the okay, Sudarshan, actually, okay, that's fine. Maybe you can receive the recording also, that would be fine. Later on also you can listen to that. Listen to the recording, and then if you have any queries, you can ask me tomorrow. Not an issue.
Yeah, thank you, Mahesh. Right.
No problem. Yeah. Now see here, I have three applications, like one is web application, one is mobile application, Android, one is iOS, Apple related application basically. Now what is happening? I'm a customer of ICICI Bank and I have the bank account with ICICI. Now I just wanted to log into my account and check the balance. This is my requirement. Okay. Now, where does the balance and my details are available? Basically, there will be a database. For example, this is ICICI Bank database. Okay. My what all will be there? My account details and live balance. Everything are available here. Okay. Now, from where actually this is my see I have Samsung phone, I have Apple phone, and I have a laptop basically. Okay, one time I wanted to check from my laptop, one time I wanted to check from my Samsung phone, one time I want to check with Apple phone. Okay, see if you see here, this is Android, this technology is different. For example, like think it as this is Java system basically. Okay, a web application is developed on Java. This is on a different technology. This is Samsung, Android is a different technology, and iOS is a different technology. Can you see, correlate with the examples exactly? See here. Now, first time I just wanted to check the balance from my laptop. Now, what happens exactly? This request will be coming here and okay. See here. Now, I clicked, I entered my login credentials, net banking credentials, and then I placed a request for check balance. Immediately, I'll be getting a response. You have 25,000 as a balance, for example. Okay. Now, what happened? How it works basically in the desktop application or web application, whenever you go inside and check balance, immediately it will place a request. Okay. And it comes to the API. And then this API will place the request to database. So and so person is asking for balance. Please check and give the response exactly. The database will check and give the response to this API. Now this API will send the response to desktop application. Request, response. Now you may get doubt like why this is required. Directly I can go database and then take the balance and then I can give it, right? Obviously. Now see here, this particular web application, who is using it? I am using it. Okay, where I'm using it? Over internet. Okay, now if I place that request directly to the database, what happens? You have the access of that database directly. You can hack it very easily. That's the reason most of the times they never expose, banks or certain organizations never expose their end system directly to the end user exactly. Okay, maybe if you're a right person, but a hacker came in between, he can directly talk to the database and then immediately he can hack the system exactly. Okay, for that reason, what they do, they won't expose the database directly to the end users. They keep APIs in between. What is an API? Just it is a piece of program or a code, okay, which is written with the help of this database. They take the the balance and all exactly. See, just now I took an example of only check balance. There will be so many services exactly. Check balance, for example, like you finished your checkbook, you want to place an order for a checkbook, you want to transfer some amount to a friend basically. There are so many different types of services, but for avoiding confusion, I'm taking one example like check balance. Check balance means you're checking your bank balance exactly. Okay, for that, now if you see what happens exactly, you're sending the account number or the customer ID and account number to the API, and you're telling please provide me the balance. This request will be placed to the API, and the API will fetch the balance with the help of that particular account number with the help of SQL query, and then it will take the response. It will take, okay, for this account 25,000 is the balance. This is the response sent to the application. Now here, see, if you see, you're sending the data. Here also you're sending account number and customer ID, and one more, balance check. This is the request you're sending in the form of data, basically. This is again data. See, this is one end system, this is one system. Okay, this is in another technology, this is in another technology, but API has facilitated the communication to exchange the data between these two systems. That's fine. Okay, if you directly do that also, that's easy. Okay, fine, no problem. But I will tell you in this scenario what happens. That time we will be facing the difficulty. Okay, now is that clear? This first scenario is clear?
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, fine. Okay, now here I'm using with the Android phone. The same request I placed. And in turn, it will send a request to here. Again, it will receive the response, and then it will send it to. What happens here is, again, you're giving the data, and that front-end system will take that data and it will present exactly. Okay. Front-end system is like what? That HTML, CSS, and all, basically. Okay. Here, Android system is there. Here, again, a different database technology is there. But it is facilitating the communication and exchange data exactly. Here also you're sending the same data only. You are not sending the different one, but it can be utilized by a different technology. Okay, for example, I'll take one scenario. You directly wrote one program to communicate with the database. Okay, now the same cannot be utilized here because this technology and this technology integration is different, and this technology integration and this technology integration is different. That's the reason you cannot use the same code. You have to again write a different code here. But if you develop one API which is a global one, which can be utilized by all the technologies. Okay, now again I'm using iOS phone. Same, sending request. Again this database will be okay. Response means, is it technology independent? Saving time and effort. For example, if you want to communicate these three applications with the database, what happens? You have to write three different codes exactly. Okay, and then utilize. But here if you see, one API is enough. They can take the same data and they can use them. That is the importance of an API. Okay, it is able to establish the communication between different language applications. Okay, and then for what purpose? For the exchanging the data. In the request, what are you sending? Account number, customer ID, and type of request. What is our type of request here? Check balance. Response, what is it doing? It is telling for this account number, this is the balance. 25,000 is the balance. The same response is sent to three different systems which can be utilized. Okay, got it? Any queries till now?
No queries.
Okay.
So yeah, Mahesh, one thing.
Yes, please.
So you are giving the request to the from three end users like Apple, desktop, and mobile, correct?
Yes,
So, but here API is the one, but inside the logic, is it different or the same logic, business logic?
See, business
Like,
logic will be same. Business logic will be same only, but
hmm,
for each experience system, there will be a separate layer exactly.
okay.
Okay, this is broad in picture.
Mhm.
Okay, this is broad in picture. Again, this will be, we'll be going in detail in the later sessions exactly. At that point of time, I'll tell you.
Oh, okay. So,
In broad picture, what is happening? This Java system is using the same API, or this Android system is using the same API, iOS system is using the same API. Okay, this is one experience. This is one experience system. 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 Experience system is nothing but the people are using that as the front end basically. Okay, you don't know the background process, you just use the system, you click on the check balance, automatically the balance will be appeared there. That's it. But background, there is a lot of work which happens exactly. As a developer, obviously we knows it. Okay, I will show the same in simpler format. This is web application, Android and iOS. Now we have API here. We have database here. Okay. Two-way communication means request and response. I'm telling. One side I'll write as request, one side as response. Here also, again, this will form as a request and response. This will receive the response basically. The same way here. Already we have one communication channel and I'm using the same for it also. See, I'm not telling like, for example, one time you can use this, one time you can use this, one time you can use it. I just wanted to explain the scenario. That's the reason different systems and different technologies, I use this example. Okay. And even three people for your application, somebody knows your username and password. If you place the three requests from three different applications at the same time also, you will receive the response. Not an issue. Okay, this is the scenario. Why actually security is the major concern. They don't want to expose the database directly to the end users exactly. Okay, here. And even your data is also totally is not exposed to this backend server or database, whatever it is exactly. Okay, only less data is exposed to the other side end system exactly. Okay, here also request, response, request, response exactly. That's what. Now, if you go to the definition, it's easier to understand. API is a piece of code that helps two different systems to communicate and exchange data with each other basically. That's what is happening. We are exchanging the data. First, it will establish the communication and then it will be helpful to exchange the data. That's it. Fine. Now, APIs, we have so many types of APIs exactly, but for Mulesoft, those are all not useful. I will tell like what APIs are useful for Mulesoft exactly and what are the type of APIs we develop with the help of Mulesoft. That we will see and then we'll go inside that today. Now, immediately, what are web services? This is the question exactly. See, APIs is a broader concept. Again, web services come into the come under the umbrella of APIs basically. All web services are APIs, but not all APIs are not web services. Keep this in mind. All web services are APIs, but all APIs are not web services. Keep this in mind. There is a lot of confusion in the industry, like between APIs and web services basically, but there is a slight difference exactly. Okay. Even web service is a piece of code. Piece of code means software. Obviously, piece of code means software or a programming code basically. Software code or whatever it is. that helps two different systems to communicate and exchange data with each other over internet. This is the extra word which is utilized for web services. Now, if you see in the example just now I used, where are you placing your request over internet? Can we call these as web services? Obviously, what are you using? API only. Means all web services are APIs only, basically. Okay, right. That is the thing which I want to know. Web service is also an API which establishes the communication over the internet, basically. That's what web services are. Okay. What are the kind of web services we have? REST and SOAP. REST web services and SOAP web services. REST web services and SOAP web services. We have these two type of web services. Is that clear, right? Web services are clear, right? Keep this point in mind, basically. All web services are APIs, but all APIs are not web services. Whenever I talk about REST or SOAP from next time, it means that it is a web service. Maybe I will not use REST web service or SOAP web service like that. REST API or REST web service or only REST also I'll be using. Whenever I use that terminology, it means that REST web service only. Okay, right. Now we have two types of web services. We will discuss these two in detail and then see the differences between them and which is widely used and popular. That also we'll see. Now, REST web service. REST web service is widely used and popular nowadays. Widely used and popular nowadays compared to SOAP. Why it is? Because of its simplicity to use. Exactly. REST web service can be used very easily. That's the reason it's more popular and widely used when compared to the SOAP. SOAP is a little bit complex. Exactly. Okay. Now, what is REST web service? REST web service stands for representational state transfer. It is the full form of it, basically. Okay. And it follows a HTTP transfer protocol. For transferring the data, here if you see, the data has to be transferred between systems, right? For that, there should be some protocol for transferring this data. We are following HTTP protocol. If you check out any website and all, you see HTTP or HTTPS, and then for example, like you went to Google and checked for Mulesoft. What are you doing? You are placing a request for searching Mulesoft related content. Exactly. Now what happens? That Google web page will take the request and it will send it to the backend server. Now, and it will receive the response. For that, there should be a protocol for transferring the data. What Google is using, basically, it is using HTTPS. If you check it out, just give me a moment. If I go to Google, for example, I checked for Mulesoft. See, most of the requests are HTTPS only, actually, because of the concern for the security, basically. If you check out HTTPS, 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 means HTTP or HTTPS protocol can be utilized for transferring the data, basically. Okay, don't dig deeper. If you're really interested, then dig deeper, but keep that in mind. For transferring the data, we need a protocol. For that, REST is using HTTP transfer protocol. What is HTTP? Hypertext transfer protocol. Okay, and one more thing is REST web service. It can accept JSON, XML, HTML, plain text as message format. Okay, now in this example, I want to send the data from here to here. what kind of data format I have to use? I can use any of these formats. JSON, XML, HTML. I told only 3 or 4 here, but there are numerous formats basically. But REST web service, okay, REST web service is using what? JSON, XML, HTML, plain text as message format. We can send different data exactly. Okay, now there are certain procedures actually for designing the REST web service exactly. What we use exactly, we design REST using RAML. I told you there are 2 different languages which will be utilized for what to say in developing in Mulesoft exactly. What are those 2 languages? One is RAML and one is DWL. RAML is nothing but to design REST web service. We'll be using RAML. RAML is RESTful API Modeling Language. What it will consist of, we'll see that exactly. What is the meaning of designing? Basically, before we go for the actual implementation of an API, we design that exactly. What is the meaning of designing? How it looks? What is the request structure? What is the response structure? What is the security scheme available for that particular API? All these will be discussed in design phase, and then we'll come into implementation phase basically. Now, what does that RAML contains? RAML contains resource details. We'll see what is resource details in the later part of the sessions exactly. And request, I told you here, if you see, we're sending request and we're receiving response exactly. Request and response schema. What is the structure of that request? What is the structure of the response to be received? And the request example, response example, and even error details also. I forgot to mention the error details also. Okay, whenever there is an error, what is the type of error we have to send, all those details also will be available. And we need to secure our API also. How to secure your API? For example, you want to use your ICICI banking application, right? Your API. It is applicable to, it is available to each and everyone. For example, like I have a HDFC bank account. Can I use this API? Absolutely no. Okay, that's why how that can be managed with the help of security on your API. That also will be mentioned here. Okay, here security schemes, examples, error details. The design RAML part will consist of resource details, request and response schema, examples, request example, response example, error details, and security schema. It will consist of all these things. Okay, I'm just giving you the brief overview today, but when it comes to designing of RAML, we will see in detail exactly. I'll show you everything in detail, like these examples, response schema, request schema, security schemes, what we can apply. All those details will be discussing it in 3 to 4 sessions exactly. Okay, right, don't worry about it. One more thing is REST requires fewer resources. Why exactly? I'll tell you. For example, I just want to send one request. What is the request? Now for check balance, account number, I'm telling 1, 2, 3. And the customer ID, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, for example, take it as. And type of request, you're telling check balance. This is JSON basically. This request is in the format of JSON. Most probably, I told you so many, in the previous slide, I told you it accepts JSON, XML, HTML, plain text, everything. But 80 to 90% of the time we'll be using JSON data format. And for this also, I'll be taking a separate session. What is JSON format, how it looks and all, don't worry about that. But for now, you just keep it as, it looks like a plain text. Okay, That's why it requires fewer resources, because the same language, like if you send some plain text, right, it cannot be understood by different systems exactly. Because of that reason, what we do, we send the data format in JSON. JSON is a simplified format. Obviously, if it is a simplified format, it will be requiring less resources. For example, you have 5 devices to be utilized with the help of a Wi-Fi router. Okay, and there is an instance where only 2 devices are there. Whether the load is more on the Wi-Fi router or not when compared to the 2 scenarios. The same way, whenever the load is more, obviously it will be requiring more resources to send it. It is by SOAP exactly, but for the rest requires fewer resources. It is a lightweight protocol. That's why it requires less resources exactly. Okay, and there is another concept called cache can be achieved with the help of REST. Cache means what happens is, for example, this is the DB, this is API, and I'm sending one request. What is that request? For example, like I just wanted to fly from Hyderabad to Delhi exactly. Okay, fly from Hyderabad to Delhi. Now from Hyderabad to Delhi, I went inside that portal and then I checked for Hyderabad, source as Hyderabad, set the source as Hyderabad, destination as Delhi, and then I clicked on check flights. Immediately there will be an API here and it will take the request, and there will be a backend system which gives the response back to what are all the flights available and what is the price exactly for that. Whether this changes each and every minute for each and every request? No, exactly. For that reason, what happens is, for the first time, it will take the response and it will store in this API cache section. And then what happens is, another person came in and sent the same request. It will not go to the backend system. It will see the cache and then it will send back the response. What happens? Load on this database reduced. That can be achieved through REST, which is a very great feature. Exactly. Okay. Now, the next thing is like we develop REST services majority of the times with Mulesoft in real time. To be frank, 95% of the time we develop REST services. We develop REST services. That's the reason even our course will have more focus on the REST services, because it has a weightage of 95% exactly. When compared to the SOAP, it is only 5%. It is rarely used exactly. We have 2 types of web services. One is REST web service, another one is SOAP web services. Okay, REST web service, obviously REST web service means it is able to establish the communication between 2 different systems, okay, for the exchange of data exactly. Okay, and it accepts JSON, XML, HTML, plain text as message format, and we use designing for designing purpose, we'll use RAML as the language exactly. Okay, now a RAML will contain like resource details, request and response, examples, security schemes, and error details. And it is less weight protocol, less weight when compared to the SOAP basically. And cache can be achieved. And we develop REST services majority of the times with Mulesoft. Okay, 95% of the time. Very less number of times we use SOAP. Okay, now let's go to SOAP. Is that clear till now?
Yes, yes, Mahesh.
I have one
Okay.
doubt.
Yes, please.
Actually, you said is that caching part. If suppose is the any end user give the request and after API go and after that we hit the database, correct? In that one in middle, say whatever request is to that one in the caching level, it's saved, correct?
Yeah, in the cache memory of API exactly.
API. Okay. If suppose after 2 hours or 3 hours, the same person and same request he given. Okay. So on the time, next time it will not hit the database. Just go cache and take the response, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yes, okay. So the cache memory is that how much time it have to that one. It's
It
like
depends on the
any
it
time.
depends on the yeah, it depends on the requirement. Okay. For
Uh-huh.
example, there are for example, we'll take I'll just take one example and tell you. Now see here. If you go inside ICICI banking application, mobile application, most of the time you'll see pre-approved offers, right?
Yes.
Pre-approved offers, for example. For example, this ICICI bank has set pre-approved offer for Venkat, and it doesn't want to change for 7 days unless there is some big activity happened in his account. Why pre-approved offers will come based on the transactions you do in your banking application. Okay. For example, for first time you clicked on pre-approved offers. You have seen first offer, second offer, third offer. One is personal loan of 5 lakhs. Second is a free credit card. Third is housing loan of some 70 lakhs. This ICICI banking has decided not to change this for 7 days. Okay, for these 7 days, these 3 offers only will be available. For example, first time you send the request, it took it from ICICI banking database. Okay, some API was there in between. It received it and it has sent to the front end. Now, this is the first time you send the request. Second time, what happens? Request is sent, pre-approved offers, the front end. Again, you'll see 1, 2, 3 offers. Okay, I'm not writing the offers here. Okay, PL, CC, and HL. But from where it will be received? API cache. Okay, now you did it on 6th day, second time. Now you did it on 8th day for the third time. Now what happens exactly? Maybe at that point of time we have 4 offers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe PL of 7 lakhs. Okay, credit card, one thing same. Housing loan of 80 lakhs. Previously it is 75 lakhs. And fourth time you have a fourth one is like we can take some consumer durable loan, CDL, or bike loan or vehicle loan, something exactly for 2 lakhs. This time it will send the request, but the cache is what happened? Expired after 7 days. Okay, this is 8th day. Now what it will send a request to database, and then again it will send the response, and then you will receive these offers exactly. Got it, Venkat?
Yes, Mahesh. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Here the cache expire date we can decide. Depends on the organization's requirement basically.
Okay.
Okay. Fine.
Fine.
Any other doubts?
Oh, I'm clear.
Okay. Okay. Let's go to SOAP web service. See, SOAP follows. See, this is used very rarely. That's one thing which I just wanted to let you know, people. Okay, less used SOAP web service. Okay, but how it will be helpful, I'll tell you in real time basically. Okay, SOAP follows HTTP, SMTP, UDP transfer protocols, but for REST only HTTP. Okay, keep this in mind. SOAP accepts only XML as a message format. I told you there's different types of message formats, but SOAP only accepts XML message format. Other than that, it will not accept any other message format. But this is very heavy. How it is heavy, I'll tell you. Okay, and XML format will look like this exactly. For a small thing also, I'll tell you here. See, account number, some 1, 2, 3. Again, account number. Close, open tag, close tag. And for type of request, closing tag, opening tag. Check balance. And one more thing is customer ID. Opening tag, closing tag. Maybe some 4, 5, 6. If you see here, for a simple request, whether this looks complex, and apart from this also there are certain other things to be added for that. In that XML message, what we send it to the respective API. Okay, that's why it's very heavy and more complex exactly. Okay, and one more thing, obviously when you are designing an API, REST API, you're using RAML, right? The same way for designing SOAP API or SOAP web service, you use WSDL. They call it as WSDL. Some people call it as WSDL. Okay, what does the WSDL stands for? Web Service Description Language. Okay, it is similar to RAML only, but no, it is not similar exactly. The usage is similar. RAML is used for designing RESTful APIs. WSDL is used for designing SOAP web services, basically. SOAP APIs or SOAP web services. If you see here, even WSDL contains also resource details, request and response schema, examples, security schemes. The same. And SOAP requires more bandwidth, because I told you it is more complex. Obviously, it requires more resources and more bandwidth, basically. Okay, cache is not possible with the SOAP. That particular feature is not available in SOAP architecture, basically. Because of that also it would be difficult. Each and every time you have to communicate with the backend system. And we do develop SOAP services very rarely because of its more complexity. Exactly. The same is discussed in REST versus SOAP. Just give me a moment. Yeah, REST versus SOAP, and why this is more popular, I just wanted to discuss with you, right? Exactly. Okay. Easy to use because of its less complexity, and obviously when it is easy to use, obviously easy to learn also, and that's why it became so popular. And it is a lightweight. I just showed you JSON versus XML exactly. Because of that, obviously it's lightweight and easy to transport also. Caching available, and it accepts wide variety of message formats also. Because of that reason, REST is widely popular when compared to SOAP. Okay, the next thing is like, see, whenever you're developing web services or consuming web service, there are two concepts exactly. Okay, now I'll tell you, there is one API. I am the end user. End user means maybe, for example, like I'm using that this particular API. You are known as consumer. This API is known as provider. As this API is providing the services required for the end user basically. Okay. Now what happens is exactly there may be certain instances in this API also you'll be using another API. For example, like take as instance, there are two APIs which you have to utilize in this API. Now for this API, this will become the provider, this will become the consumer. It means that whenever you're developing web services, there are two concepts: consuming web services and providing web services. Okay, how to consume, how to provide, both will be discussed, okay, in detail in the further sessions exactly. But most of the time, I'll tell you, 95% of the time our development will happen with for providing REST services, and 5% of the time providing SOAP services, and 50% of the time we'll be using consuming REST services. 50% there is a chance of consuming SOAP services. Means that, see, already there are some APIs which are developed some years back basically. The same APIs also have to be utilized, right? That SOAP services also should be utilized. Because of that reason, for consuming purposes, for example, treat this as SOAP API, treat this as REST API. But in this REST API, whatever we are developing, we have to consume this particular SOAP API, we have to consume this REST API also. There may be certain instances of this kind exactly. Keep this in mind. We will be developing 95% of the REST applications. 5% of the time will be developing 90 to 95%, and 5 to 10% SOAP services. And for consuming, there is a equal chances exactly. But REST services consumption is more comparatively, as per my experience. But on a broader picture, I'm just telling you this exactly. Got it? And understand the difference between consumer and provider. Whoever consumes the service is known as consumer. Whoever provides the service is known as provider. Whenever I use the terminology consuming a web service or providing a web service, you should not get confused. Or whenever you go into the real time and then they speak that kind of terminology also, you should not be confused basically. That's the reason I am again reiterating these points. Now, I will take this particular concept tomorrow, maybe because it will take some time. Already it's 9 o'clock. What I will do, I will take this particular topic in another 5 to 10 minutes. I can finish off this particular topic, real-time environments, because all you people are from already working in the real time exactly. Obviously, you might be aware of this, but still, I just wanted to give a clarity from my side. Okay, for that reason, I am discussing this particular topic, and this is very, very important basically. Okay, if you know the importance of each environment in the real time, obviously, it would be very, very easy for understanding the overall landscape exactly. Okay, now in real time, what are the different kind of environments available? If you are aware basically, or if you are having something in mind, basically people can tell me. Already written here, without seeing, you people can tell. Anyone? Okay, I'll take the chance. Actually, say fine. See here. If you see, there are 6 environments: development, SIT, UAT, pre-production, production, disaster recovery. There are 6 environments. This is an idealistic situation. Idealistic situation. There may be less, or based on the requirement, there may be more also. But this is the ideal situation where any organization can have these many number of environments. For having these many number of environments, whether there is any significance, absolutely we have a significance for each and every environment basically. Okay, now first we'll discuss about development. Whenever you wanted to develop some applications or some Mule projects, when it comes to Mulesoft, Mule related projects or Mule, just give me a moment. Sorry. Whenever developers start doing something in the development environment, obviously they develop the applications or the Mule related projects in the development environment. Okay, for that they will be having the database or any, for example, Salesforce system is there, Salesforce system of development environment, file system is there, file system development environment. Okay, all system related everything will have separate setup exactly for the development environment. Now what happens, you develop the applications or you develop Mule projects, and then what you will do, you will be deploying it to the SIT, you will promote it to the SIT. Okay, fine. What happens in the development exactly, what you will do, you will develop projects and do unit testing also. Fine. After that, for example, like in a project, obviously there are 5 to 10 developers. Each person is given a module, and you have tested your module, and another developer has tested his module, but nobody has tested with the integration exactly, integrating all the modules and testing it in the broader picture. Who will do that? You will be deploying it to the SIT, system integration testing environment, and then QA team will does it for you. What happens here? Integration testing will happen. Okay, here unit testing happened, but you are aggregating all the modules and then you are doing the integration testing in a SIT environment. Whose job is to deploy the application from development to SIT? Our job only, developer job only. Okay, now what happens? Immediately after the QA team gives sign off, they told bugs are there, you rectified, and then they retested it, and then they said everything is perfect, you can go for UAT. Now what you will do, you will deploy the same application, the not 100% bug free, at least we'll think of like some 80% or 70% bug free application to the UAT. Now what is the meaning of UAT? User acceptance testing. Who does that exactly? I'll just take another slide. Here, generally what happens exactly? For example, we have Airtel, one organization Airtel, okay, and let's take TCS as the IT service provider for this particular. Airtel wanted to do some integration project, and they have allocated TCS as the software developer for that particular project basically. Now what happens, there are certain people, we call them as users from this particular Airtel team, and from TCS, business analyst people, analysts, and solution architects. See, once the project is finalized, then this comes into picture. Okay, that is a different scenario. Now here project is finalized, and then they wanted to implement the project. Now what happens? This user will explain the requirements to these two people. Now what happens? This business analyst will prepare a BRD with the help of the requirement provided by Airtel, and the solution architect will make a technical design document. We'll have high level design document and low level design document. Both will be done by the solution architects. Okay, and then it will be passed to the developers. Right? What happens? Developers, not developer exactly. There may be, for example, 10 developers, and we have one tester. Now, for these 10 developers, this is a huge project. I will take it as some 1.5 year expectation, 18 months. Some 50 APIs development. Okay. This will be allocated by the team lead to the respective people, which one should be delivered first and all. Based on that requirements and all, what they will do, they will complete the activity and they will be giving it to the respective developers basically. And then these developers will develop and then test it for unit testing, and then it will pass it to the testers basically. They will do the testing, and then if everything is ready, it will go for the UAT. Who will do the UAT? These people will do the UAT. Got it? Business analysts and users will do the UAT. These people will facilitate. These people will do the user acceptance testing. For that also there will be a separate environment basically. Got it? User acceptance testing. Who is the user? Whoever provided the business requirements, that team particularly will do the user acceptance testing. Now, user acceptance testing is done and they told perfect, sign off. Another extra 10 minutes is okay, right? For everyone. 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Now it is promoted to pre-prod environment. What is pre-prod? Pre-production. Means before going to the production environment, there is another environment called pre-production. What is the purpose of this particular pre-production? I have written performance testing. What is performance testing exactly? If you see in SIT or UAT, what the people will do? What people will do? For example, in SIT or UAT, hardly they send one request to the API, they test it and they will receive. Maybe hardly every day they will be sending 100 requests and they will be receiving 100 responses. Whether this is the same case in production exactly? No. What happens for every second? For example, like if you take a Flipkart website, okay, this is a Flipkart mobile application. You have Android app, for example, for Flipkart Android, and there are lakhs of people, same as you. Okay, Flipkart Android app only Android users I am telling, and you are placing the requests. For each and every minute, we will be receiving thousands of requests. Is this happens in real time for production? Okay, for individual requests and all, it is working properly. If the load comes, if this API is not able to handle that load, more load, it fails in production. For that reason, what they do performance testing in pre-prod environment. What they do in pre-prod exactly? They simulate the actual live environment. They may receive 1,000 requests for each and every minute exactly. If there is some issue, who does that? Actually, QA team only. quality assurance team exactly, or testing team. They only do it, thousands of requests, and if there is any issue identified, they will report it to the developer and the architect basically. And then based on whether this particular load is able to be handled by this particular API or not, they will check. And then if it is able to, they will have some expected load, right? That kind of expected load will be sent. And if it is properly responding, then they will give the sign off for the next environment. Now, what is the next environment? Production. See, production. Production means what exactly? For example, like if I take Flipkart API, for example, I am taking Flipkart. This is Flipkart API. Okay. There are hundreds of users. Okay. They are placing the requests in live. Exactly. Okay. This is handled. Once the system is in production live. Now, if you are using and placing the order, it is a live system basically, right? Exactly same. Before testing and all, only we will be doing testing. Actual orders will not be placed. But here, actual orders will be placed. This is the production system. Means whoever is the right actual consumers, those people will be using it. Actual consumers of that particular application or API, whatever it may be basically. This is the case with production environment. This live. Now, think of a situation where sometimes if you remember, actually we got cyclones, we will get earthquakes and all these kind of things exactly, right? Okay, fine. For example, like in Vizag recently, like around 2 to 3 years back, we received a Hudud cyclone, and it is very big and it destroyed the whole city. And the infrastructure, the data centers or the electricity or the roads, okay, the drainage system, everything got collapsed. And for example, like you think of, we are thinking of this ICICI Bank, right? ICICI Bank has data center in Vizag. It has so many, data center will have so many servers, right? So many servers means databases, combination of so many things exactly. Think as DB, think of some say SFTC system, like so many things exactly. Okay, now what happens? We got a huge cyclone and whole infrastructure got collapsed. Network connectivity, everything gone. And all India operations or all over the world operations happens from this particular data center only. Now what happens? India, USA, like think of Singapore and UK. Whether all the operations are stopped and there is a huge business loss. Think of a situation if we have another data center in, think as Delhi, with the same setup, which is the replica of, replica means exact same. Okay. Now what happens? Within a short period of time, within half an hour or 1 hour, we can switch the actual services from this data center to this center, and all the services will be working for all the countries. For example, it took 3 days to recover here. If you lose 3 days business, it is a huge loss, but half an hour is okay or 1 hour is okay. Nowadays, within a matter of minutes also you can switch exactly. That way there is a possibility. Okay. Now, what does it mean? Disaster recovery environment. Whenever there is a disaster recovery, there is a separate environment called disaster recovery environment, where you can switch from that particular environment to production environment to the DR environment, and immediately you can switch and continue the business operations without any hurdles. Got it? Got it, or any queries actually?
No, nothing.
Okay, we have development, SIT, UAT, pre-prod, prod, and DR. And each and every environment has its own significance and importance exactly. If you see, development for development purpose, SIT for testing purpose, UAT for user testing purpose, pre-prod is for performance testing, prod is for the live, and DR is for the live only. But whenever there is a unexpected incidents happen exactly, or disasters happen exactly. These are the 6 environments. Got it right?